companies and corporations around here. I see, not to pick on Bart Earl, I see him back on the back row, like going Squirrel Health. I would love to see some kind of a enlarged, not putting on the spot there, sorry about that. But it would be nice that if a student comes to us for an internship, and Laura Rudolph is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But sometimes she, if we just had a corporation or a company or something like that where we knew that we could just pick up the phone and there would be a slot for someone. And I know that's hard to ask for because you don't want to just have, kids coming there when there's not really a need for them and that kind of stuff. But whether it's that or something else, just more corporate partnerships, I would think.
Sure. Any other thoughts on opportunities for enhancement, opportunities for partnership, growing programs, expanding programs, introducing programs?
I don't know, just to add to this, what Danielle was saying about finding companies to find internships and that kind of stuff. My husband is a Ford retiree and what Ohio State Lima, which was a branch of Ohio State, they would come into Ford and they would teach different classes, maybe Microsoft Excel classes or something other like that to the employees. And my husband sometimes would have to go take a class, and whether this class was once a week for 3 weeks for 2 hours a day or something like that. I don't know, there's a lot of factories and stuff around here where they might offer to pay for their employees to take such classes and that kind of thing. Just a thought.
Hello. Just speaking from kind of an admissions perspective on academics, some of the programs we hear the most often are ones that we don't have here. Computer science, huge. We do not have anything we can offer them. So I'll say, well, if you like the creative side, we have graphic design. Obviously, that's a much different thing. Nursing is huge. I mean, we can, discuss pre-nursing with them. Ultimately, a lot of them do decide to go elsewhere. And then engineering is also huge right now. And you mentioned pre-engineering. I mean, people just walk away. Like, that's just not what they're looking for. I know we've kind of discussed the possibility of graduate programs. I do think that would be a huge strength if we could offer them, just to go all the way through, especially, if we add an MBA and you can get your business administration bachelor's and then go straight into an MBA program. And then I'll say also, just from the selling side of things, I know we kind of talk about like experiential learning, like that's what we were talking about. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how much that is definitely happening. It probably is. I will say, not being a student here, I don't really know what all those examples are. So, for one, just if you have examples, please let us know. But also, I'll kind of echo what Danielle said. I think the more we can set ourselves apart academically and show that we're giving students unique experiences. The major programs we do offer outside of zoology, most other places also offer those. So what do we have to offer within those programs that actually does set us apart?
Thank you.
Absolutely ditto her on computer science, which I know is difficult with things, but pre-engineering, I've run into that. I'm not even in those fields, and I've run into those things as well. And I think the zoology, whoever came up with that was brilliant. And that was years ago, but if you have a distinctive major that no one else offers.
Steve Bird, class of 90, former team leader Scott Kramer. So just a question back to getting the different organizations and companies involved. I mean, do we reach out to companies? Are we expecting companies to reach out? And how do we get that process started? Where is it started? You have some of those opportunities already and you just want to expand that? Or really looking to start it?
That's as faculty, I have individually, but I can't answer that.
Right, there's a lot of personal relationships with faculty, with potential employers for internship opportunities. We started to implement that more in the career engagement aspect from the office, but we certainly have ways to go. So it's kind of a mixture of the two.
Yeah, just from, asking kind of from the business standpoint, my wife is a graduate from here too, physical therapy, so started here, but I degree around the UK for a PT degree in the UK. But I'm accounting, so obviously, just kind of from a business standpoint, how does the organizations get involved with that? If they want to, or who all, how do you reach out? So,
I think one of our challenges, we're a small market, but take for example, UL program. Now that UL's got this program where they will automatically accept our accounting students. And we've got really good accounting connections, and we've got really good manufacturing connections. Owensboro market's not known for corporate headquarters. We've got a few, and we've got some connections with those. But if we could somehow expand, and I'm not capable of doing this, but I know that the ones that go on the road to Louisville and that kind of thing, if we could expand it out to Louisville, Nashville, Indy, and that kind of stuff, if we've got alumni contacts in those areas where somehow we've got connections there that maybe an individual faculty member doesn't have or something.
Thank you. I'm going to shift then away from academics for a moment to kind of the outside the classroom experiences. Looking at our student experience, what do you think the most, or about the overall student experience, and how can we improve with student life and engagement on campus? So what do you think about the student experience outside the classroom, and how can we improve on student life and engagement on campus?
So, Eddie, I think that I'm gonna call Shiloh and Coach Young out. I think Coach Young does a phenomenal job in that he requires his folks to be involved in a certain number of things. And so if we have that in the classroom and on our athletic teams, then I think that would help with student involvement across the board.
Go over in my corner. We were in a meeting yesterday, and one of my colleagues mentioned that athletes are not allowed to participate in intramurals or things like that. When Steve and I were students, Sam, we had a vibrant intramural program where athletes were allowed to participate outside of their sport. We had a very competitive basketball league. We probably had 12, 15 teams. And baseball players are not allowed to play intramural basketball. Now, there's a reason for that. Coach Lopez, our pitcher one year, broke his ankle in intramural basketball and then ended that. But that takes away from the total experience. If you've got a baseball team of 50 players, and they still play 9 at a time, I believe. I don't think they have an EH or anything like that. But that's a lot of kids that aren't playing. And they're not allowed to participate in a real program or anything like that. So there's going to be a lot of unhappiness and unrest. And same thing with football. We're expecting about 140 football players this fall. Huge number. And they play 11. They get 2 more, or 22, I guess, offense and defense. But still, you've got a large portion of your kids that aren't allowed to participate in anything beyond football. And, they're limited to 20 hours per week. Weekends, they have the games and so forth. But it's just, there's a sense of vibrancy here that we can have with our students beyond their one, you were generous. It's over 60% athletes. You said 50. So it's growing. That's too many. That's a huge number that we depend on for our enrollment and our athletes. But without them being able to participate beyond their own, their one program, and sports now are not like when we played. If you played baseball, you played in the spring. Now it's year round. You're training in the fall for the spring and summer, so you really don't have any downtime. But if they had opportunities beyond their one sport, I think that would really enhance the student life experience.
One of the things in my role is I get to go out and meet with alumni and visit and hear their stories of their experience, right? And a lot of times I hear that, the basketball team was supporting, was going to the choir concert, and that's, I think, something that's unique and something that we need to continue to stress the importance of. And I think Coach Young has done that with some of the the planning and things that Shanda mentioned before. So I think that's something that, you know, we can reinforce, to Coop's point, from our standpoint, faculty and staff talking to students, and encouraging them to be a part of the full experience. Colin, sorry.
From my perspective as a faculty member, just like with every other aspect of campus life and life in general, COVID had a dramatic effect on the way that students interact with each other outside of the classroom. A lot of the programming that happened pre-COVID doesn't seem to be as attractive as it is post-COVID. Students interact differently, they have different interests, they have different ways of communicating. And SAPB is an organization that works to allow students to design their own programming, but I also get a sense that our student body isn't really fully bought into SAPB, that it's a smaller group of students that are really putting in the time and effort to run that instead of a large portion of the student body. So I think if we really want buy-in on outside the class culture, it has to be grown from the bottom up, that instead of us trying to figure out what students want, we need to develop a culture where students take ownership of what that looks like, and that we don't have any kind of sacred spaces that, well, this is how we've always done it, so we're going to keep doing it that way, that we allow students to define their culture on campus and the things that they want to be important to that, so that they will naturally buy in, rather than us trying to dictate to them what we think would be necessarily what they want, right? Where we can, as non-students, we can have an ownership of part of that programming to make sure that we have opportunities to express to them what's important to us and what we think they should experience, but it also has to have organic student buy-in to really have them take ownership of that, and it's just different than it was before COVID.
Sarah Brown, president of SAPB, also president of SGA, and I was president of SAPB last year as well. And last year, the amount of members that came to meetings and came to events trickled and trickled and trickled. And I've only been here post-COVID, but I did hear from students that are now graduates that it was a lot better before COVID. So I completely agree with that statement. And kind of tying in everything that we've been saying today, Coach Young, he implemented a point system where football members, if they went to any kind of event on campus, if they went to any kind of club meeting, or if they joined a club, anything like that, then they would, there was some kind of reward. I don't know the specifics, I just know they were really excited about it. And at our events, almost all the people there were football players. And now this upcoming semester, over half my EC for SAPB is they're football players. They're putting in so much more effort, and so they love it though. They're asking to build a hype team for athletic games, so that more students are interested in going to athlete games and stuff like that. But I do believe that starting from the ground up is definitely where it starts. I think that this upcoming semester will hopefully be a much better year. I'm hoping that more coaches will implement this point system or something like it to get more of our student athletes involved, because it doesn't take a lot of effort, but the change can be really big if all the students do it.
We have an online comment from Dr. Ingram. She shared, concerns about dorms needing improvement, and she also shared she thinks that there should be better labeled food choices in the cafeteria. A lot of students need gluten-free foods, for example, and there are limited choices, and the servers don't necessarily know the dietary restrictions on what is being served at that time.
Thank you, Dr. Shifting again and thinking about the financial stability of the college. What strategies can you think of or suggest for ensuring that financial stability? And how can we better manage our budget while also increasing fundraising efforts? Take the big notes on this one. Sam, did you raise your hand?
Of course I did.
and it may be an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to share it. Our coaches are hired to coach, correct? Now, but not only do they coach, they're recruiting. Not only are they recruiting, they're raising money. We're a small village. This should be done across the board, not just with our athletic faculty and staff. It should take place in each one of our departments. Everybody, we need to be all hands on deck here, where everybody needs to be recruiting kids and everybody needs to be raising money. I think we do that. That puts us in a step forward. I think Mark's team, Mark needs full-time fundraisers over there to take that burden off the coaches. Mark's team should be the size of your team. And your team should be about twice the size of what it is to reach, was it 8,000, 9,000 alumni we have out there? And I'm not sure how many go untouched each year. But, you know, we're kind of in a chicken or the egg situation. So, but I feel every department should be fundraising, just like athletics has to fundraise and recruit, same thing in the academic side. You want me to talk more?
You're welcome to that.
Oh, good.
I think this has so many different components to it, it's hard for me to know exactly budgeting wise, like where we've kind of gone off course a little maybe, but again, you know, just strictly from an admissions perspective, you know, we're bringing in a lot of students, but we have offered a lot in scholarships this year, which thank goodness, because that's helped us a lot. I mean, I think there needs to be a really serious conversation about the fact that I don't know what we are offering outside of good financial aid packages, and I'm not saying we have nothing to offer. It's just we have to be able to set ourselves apart really, really well. And I just don't think that we're doing that right now. And I mean, to be honest, because of that, like if we don't have something kind of equivalent to like Center College, you know, Center College has all these very unique things that they are offering. They have all this research on their graduates, and this is, you know, these are the incredible opportunities their graduates have had. People are willing to spend more on that education. Our students that are looking at Wesleyan are not willing to spend that money. And I don't know why, but I think we need to have like market research done, like something needs to happen for us to understand what are they looking for, how can we offer that, you know, at what point are they willing to pay the price that we need them to pay. Otherwise, we need to keep doing what we're doing, which is to offer a lot in scholarships, but then my understanding is that, you know, maybe it hasn't worked out for us. So I don't know, but there needs to be, I think, some very serious market research done. And I would say within our own community as well. Because I'm getting the feel, kind of going back to culture a little bit, that some of our local students maybe have a little bit of a hesitancy about KWC now because of programs being dropped and stuff. And I just think there is some bad publicity going around that does affect the local population of students as they're considering different options. And I don't know exactly what that is. I just think we need to know more about, you know, what people think of us and what they really are learning.
There's no doubt, you're absolutely right. I think there's multiple levels to this question in terms of financial stability and how that's impacted. It's impacting in a number of different ways. And, you know, the approach to be able to enroll students. So thinking about that, what ideas do you have for increasing student enrollment? You alluded to some, right? And some of that comes with programs, and some of that comes with marketing of the programs, but also programs that are of need, right? And then giving that value proposition. So what other ideas, and then within that, how do we improve retention rates once students are on campus?
I was actually going to say this for the last question, but it kind of works for both. But I think we need to do a really good job of leveraging our relationships, and all of us have different Kentucky Wesleyan relationships, and if we reach out to those people and explain to them why we're worthy and why they should be supporting, and those personal relationships are what's going to help us grow. But also, I think that's going to help with retention, and that's going to help. If a student here has a bad experience while they're here, they're going to be less likely to get involved or stay engaged or donate as an alumnus. So we need to do a good job of engaging them and having good relationships with them while they're here in every aspect, whether they're on an athletic team, their coaches need to make sure they're having a good experience in the classroom, the faculty needs to make sure they're having a good experience. In every aspect of campus, we need to make sure that, and then we need to do a better job as a whole of reaching out to our alumni and getting our alumni to be advocates for us with other alumni, and our faculty to be advocates for us with alumni that they were close with when they were here. And just it's a ripple effect if we could just all work on those relationships.
Last question for me, and I'm going to turn it over to Scott. How do you perceive the current leadership and governance of the college? Second part of that question. So how do you perceive the current leadership and governance, and then what changes or improvements would you recommend? While Shannon's bringing that over, Cindy, do we have any more online that are any questions coming over?
Just that I think there's probably some faculty members that don't want everyone to think that they're not doing recruiting, they're not doing fundraising, because there certainly are some. So
faculty members making sure that they know they're recruiting, yes, absolutely, and fundraising being a part of that process. Thank you.
Well, first off, I hear the new interim provost is doing a pretty good job. But, second, I think kind of piggybacking on to what Leah was saying a little bit, and also just with the way that we sell Wesleyan into the community is, I think Kate is right that we have a hard time really putting out posters of what makes Wesleyan special, and it's really not until students get here that they can really understand what makes Wesleyan special, and that's hard for admissions to sell. And I think that we all wear so many hats and we're talking about advocating, but I think part of it really comes down to marketing instead of advocating, in the sense that we need to be more proactive in letting our students explain why they're here and why they're staying, and whether that's social media campaigns or increased content on the website or whatever. I mean, I can tell prospective students and their parents about strong relationships with faculty and their students, but it just means something different whenever another student talks about the way that they feel, with their faculty, right? Whenever they talk about sending, I've gotten wedding invitations and birth announcements and post-bachelor graduation cards, those kind of things. But if you have a story of a student talking about my impact or my interaction with this faculty member or this coach or this staff member was so profound that after I graduated, I still wanted to share these big life moments with them. Like, we need to be marketing that like crazy, because I think admissions really, you know, like Kate said, it's really hard for them to explain to a student who hasn't been here what makes this place special. And I think that is
And to
something
make them willing to pay more for that.
right. I mean, that's how you explain the value add, right? And so, as we're talking about leadership and you know, a new era going forward, like really trying to capitalize on what is going on campus and making sure that we're doing what we can to make sure that that's it.
Max Brady, admissions, class of 2021 graduate. Just like what Kate and Dr. Beeson said, the first question you said was about culture. Every small private school in the state of Kentucky says that it's a family-like atmosphere here. Like, that's not new that Kentucky Wesleyan came up with. I mean, I can speak for it on days on end because I lived the experience, right? I was a student, I did all the stuff here. But I think a big thing when talking about new leadership is just the sound of excitement. I get excited when I talk to students about coming to Wesleyan because obviously I know the experience, but like whenever I would visit here, I sat at President Darrell's desk and he talked to me. I could tell that he was excited on me being here. So if leadership acts excited, talks excited, I knew whenever I heard Bart talk about Wesleyan, I knew he was excited about it. I think just carrying excitement and positivity forward, and whenever Wesleyan's talked about, it's talked about in a positive manner to negate some of which that Kate and I have learned that the local community kind of has around us now for prospective students. If we talk about the excitement, I think that comes across from leadership, from admissions, from alumni, from everybody. So just keeping a positive attitude and making sure that's truthful, I think is a big deal.
Yeah, we all need to be ambassadors to Kentucky Wesleyan, that's for sure. So, Max, thank you. Kate, thank you. Scott, hand it over to you to talk us through some facilities and good stuff there.
I guess you're gonna make me use it. As a member of the Kentucky Wesleyan community for the past 41 years, the one thing that stands out are the relationships you build. And however you want to market that, if you contact, we've got an alumni group of about 20, Steve, that has a group text. And at least once every day, somebody sends a message to that group. And we haven't been together for 40 years, and there's still, these relationships are so strong. I'm sure they have those at other colleges as well. But there's something about the Wesleyan experience that is absolutely unique and something that we need to package in some way and convince our constituents that's what we're all about. And I don't know if it's through testimonials with alumni or groups of alumni or what, but that's going to sell what we have to offer here. I can guarantee that. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. Okay, campus master plan. That's what I'm here to speak about. We last, as Eddie mentioned, had a master plan study done in 2007. So that's 17 years. It's gone. We've done a few things. We've added the Hahn Center. We've had Massey Hall renovated, Winchester Center. So we've done some things as part of that. But it's all about finances. Where do we go from here? You know, we are in the middle of a capital campaign that we've initiated. So hopefully that will lead to other projects being considered and added to our footprint. But, you know, as we think about expansion and different things that we have to offer, there's a few things that we want to consider that we've held on to for the past 70 some odd years. First, our green space. We have a tremendous footprint of green space. The front lawn has always been held sacred. We didn't want to get into that and take that away from our, the lawn as you approach campus. But there are ways to expand in that area as well. You can go down the side on Sherman. You can come down Wesleyan Way and have things there and still have your green space in the middle. We're not about putting a building right in front of this one, although who knows what the future might hold. But still protecting that green space But if you'll look on the wall as you exit, there's an etching from 1952 of what the first master plan of this campus was, okay? You'll recognize some of the buildings because they did come to fruition and they're on there, but there was a freestanding chapel coming down Wesleyan Way that was right in the middle of campus. You're talking about the spirituality of Kentucky Wesleyan. That's right there at your front. That was a major part of that. Now, we didn't have a football field on there. We didn't have a baseball field on there. There were some tennis courts. There were some horse fields. So it's changed a little bit in the past several years. But it's, the quad, I wouldn't call it a sacred space. And it's not used nearly as much as it was back in the 80s, I promise you, because we didn't have video games and we didn't have things that we had to get out of our rooms to be able to get out and hang out with people and see. We had one TV per hallway, so we couldn't go and sit in our room all day and go to class and go back and watch TV or anything like that. We had 3 channels, so that limited your options too. But in terms of students using the green space like they once did, I can't stand up here and say that's the case. Now, can that happen? I think it can. We've been partnering with many of our community members. Sam's a good example. He brings his Wolfpack football program here, and they're 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week. They're out either on the front lawn, the football field, the quad, wherever there's a green space available. We've had a multitude of camps this summer that have been using our facilities. I'm sure if you live in Owensboro, you heard the Phantom Regiment for 3 weeks. They were here for 3 weeks. They love the campus. They've already booked us for next year, so they'll be back, Daniel. I know you're a big fan. Okay. The second thing that we need to consider are the amenities. As you look, you mentioned one of our competitors, Kate. What do they have that students want? What don't we have that we can add? I think James last week mentioned a coffee shop on campus. We have a studio Starbucks as part of our food service, but with our enrollment, we're not real attracted to Chick-fil-A or Jimmy John's or something to put a freestanding kiosk on campus that our students would have access to through the meal plan. So when we think about things like that, we do have limitations, but that's not to say we can't consider them. We once had a partnership with Papa John's. So as part of their meal plan, they had Papa John's as an option for them as well. So you just need to kind of think, I hate this phrase because everybody uses it, but think outside the box and be creative in what you do have and what we can offer that's unique. I don't want to be a cookie cutter that everybody else has. What does Owensboro have to offer that other communities don't that we could add to our campus? Okay. And the third thing is our foot and vehicle traffic on campus. You've heard this before. We don't have a parking problem. We have a walking problem. Everybody wants to park right here on this line, walk in the classroom 5 minutes before class, and if they have to park on that back row, that's way too long. If they have to park in the softball lot, that's 8 minutes. That's pretty tough to do. So we've got to retrain our students to figure out that's not a long walk. And that's something so James and I have discussed some preliminary on how to make this more of a walking campus. Do we bring in, when you drive in Wesleyan Way, do we do a roundabout? So we're directing traffic in different areas. It's mainly a walking path through campus, so you don't drive. We have a lot of people that drive through campus just to be nosy. They're driving through, they have no business here, they don't have anything to do, but they drive through campus. So that's not what we need. We need our students here. We don't want to be not allow people on campus, but we need to make sure that we are wise in how we direct our traffic patterns and our walking paths and things like that. So with that being said, what questions, ideas, concerns do you all have as we look to expand our footprint and to make our campus even more beautiful than it currently is? Chandelier? Kyle's got a question right now.
I was taking that.
Okay.
We mentioned this briefly out in the hallway the other day, but I would love to see no car traffic through campus. I would love to see that car traffic was directed around the outside of campus, and the inside of campus is, walking or like golf carts for food service or something like that. The sciences have our offices over in the Hahn building, and then we predominantly teach over in the admin building. And as small as this campus is, I get surprisingly anxious about crossing that crosswalk, about the cars that come through there, and the visibility of seeing people on the crosswalk. And if we're talking about space to expand, if you don't have that thorough way through the middle of campus, that opens up a lot of real estate that you can put other things in.
The 2007 master plan that we do have closes the campus from as a drive-through. It's more of a walking campus. So that's been considered. Even back in 1952, if you look at that etching out there, it's pretty much a walking campus. Matthew.
Hello, Matthew Rourke, admissions, class 2009. When I think about the common experience of all students, as far as facility needs and whatever else, I do think, our campus is currently built for the enrollment we have. But as we look at maybe some of the needs, I think this building is really key to the college. Obviously, it's one of the original four, but its prominence is important. I'm probably a loyalist to the front lawn. It's sacred ground there. But I think we ought to consider, this building, because most of our classes do take place in this building. So how do we modernize that, make that more valuable? Make this building as valuable for 70 more years as it has been for the last 70 here in Owensboro. But I want to give another stamp of approval, or at least another stamp of pat on the back, the idea of pushing traffic to the exteriors of campus. That would, with our central parking lots, particularly next to Massey and the Science Building, that's great space that could be utilized for a lot of different things, and further beautify our campus, and create opportunities for other opportunities down the road as Martha grows, as opportunities present themselves.
I don't like to answer my own questions or inquiries here, but I mentioned this to several, when my son was looking at law schools. Barty, he visited the University of Louisville Law School, and I was very impressed with how each classroom was adopted by one of the classes or two or three. So if we could come up with a program like that where we had a class of 95 and 96 take room 301, and that's theirs. How much does it take to get up-to-date technology, seating, the way it's laid out, furniture, things like that? So I think that's something that people could get behind because there's ownership there, and that we could really, if we break, I'm looking at you, Leah, because you're external relations. Maybe I should have looked at you too. Anyway, that's something that we could think, and we could have a class captain or something to really lead this charge. And if we could raise $10,000 per class, $10,000 would do a lot in the classroom, would it not, Jamie? That we could modernize and get to where we need to be. But I'm the same way. Steve built this, we sat in, are no longer there, but the walls are the same, and a lot of the different things that have been there for 40 years are still there. So, Sarah, how do you feel about that as a student?
Honestly, I think if you had an incoming freshman group and you assigned them a classroom whenever they got here as freshmen and you made it a priority to give them goals for their 4 years here, or more or less, depending, then I think that would be not only manageable, but I think that would be a way to bond a full class who might not have that experience beforehand with this opportunity.
I got something I'm going to give to Coach Kopensky, but part of my motive here is probably I'm a little vindictive in some ways, but when it comes to, I agree with what you said. Like at University of Kentucky, the walk from the last apartment and stadium to where we go right now is a short walk. It's a short walk. I had young men drive from stadium to practice in the HRC because of just the perception. And I get irate. My guys do it. It's done a lot. There are tickets given out the first week of school. And then, you pull in, I park in the Kendall lot, and it's, the handicap spots are full. I come down here, and the 20-minute parking and the visitor parking, I feel like if young men and women knew that they were going to be ticketed, that they would keep their parking spot. And my solution for that is not to put more on, the next Beckett McQueen or next Chris Sweeney or whatever. If I was given 100 tickets, and I'm talking when we get back from games at 9:30 at night, 10, midnight, 1 a.m., if there's someone illegally parked,
I'll ticket them. They'll ticket them. Full-time members around this community, because I get irate. I mean, it's a handicapped spot. And doesn't matter if he was not going to pull in there. And students pull in there because they're lazy, so if kids knew they were going to lose their parking spot, they would keep the parking spot. But I just think knowing they're going to get ticketed and put it on their account, don't like you're in a handicap spot. So anyway, if you want to give me 100 of those things, I'll have them done by the end of the semester. If we're certified whatever to do that.
Just to respond to that, we're in the midst of hiring a part-time security guard for daytime hours. Never had that before. We've always been the people in charge during the day. So we'll have security on campus from 9 to 4, Monday through Friday, that can be part of their duties, is patrol the parking lots. And look for people that are parked illegally. We're not doing parking permits this year. We dropped that because they weren't being enforced. Why are you forcing the students to have this when it's not being enforced? But now that we have the capability of doing that, then we need to re-examine that and figure out a way. My pet peeve is a handicapped parking spot. When I see someone in there parked, I call a tow truck. That's a $100 fine plus whatever the towing charges are. There's no reason for that. And if that's happening, that makes me a little bit angry. Yes, Coach.
I'm going to need a list of the criminal justice courses, I think, if that's part of our responsibility. Some extra training there. I would say, just in terms of amenities, if you talk about that, and we look at it from the view of attracting students, which I think is our main goal here. I don't know how plausible it is, certainly short term, but it's apartment-style housing is clearly the thing that everybody asks for. And I know, being a veteran in a school that is no longer in existence, who had two of the nicest dorms in Kentucky, in St. Catherine, I know you can't just go off and build buildings. Like I get that, but in terms of, and I think this goes back to some of the COVID stuff and the way kids are different in some ways nowadays. Is that they all like an individualistic experience more so in the dorm. Like I enjoyed being in a dorm when I went to college, how many years ago, and that's where I still have some of my best friends and my memories from. But nowadays, they're getting that stuff online. It seems to me they want to have their own space. And that's not something we have really available to many people at the moment. I know we can't at the moment, but I think long term, that has to be, I don't know whether it's housing in the community here, that's the college buys property, whatever. I mean, putting up buildings is obviously a big undertaking. But I think to me, that is what I hear more than anything. The first, particularly the transfers, the guys we talked to, that's almost their first question.
The housing.
Yeah, kitchens within, and even if it's retrofitting the stadium somehow or doing something else, that would be mine.
Absolutely. I think part of it's the culture. I'm sure when you grew up, I had a brother in my room for 18 years. We roomed together. Now kids have the top floor of the house. They've got their own bathroom, their own room, and sometimes we're the only child up there. So now they're coming to a room, 12 by 12 room with a roommate. It's a different culture shock for them to get used to something like that. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing, but it's something they're not used to, and it's something that they have to get accustomed to. We're always looking for ways to renovate our residence halls. Most recently we did Kendall Hall full renovation. Massey was before that by a few years. We have done People's Hall, new flooring, new furniture, new amenities in there, but it's still People's Hall. It still has the same feel that it did for many years. Kendall does not. Kendall has a different feel, but that was in 2015, and that was about a $3.5 million project. So it's all about fundraising and getting the money available and making that part of the capital campaign. And we are being creative with some of our thinking in terms of adding new residence halls with some commercial parts to it. So that might be something in the not too distant future that we're able to do and to offer our students. But I think you're exactly right. At one point in 2007, the plan that we did, we were going to tear down stadium apartments and build new upperclassmen villages, which were more like townhouses, which had a full kitchen and all the amenities that they would like to have. Very similar to what our buddies in Campbellsville have done on their space. Eddie, I think we're at 1 minute. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
I'll make just a couple of comments. Margaret Smith in the registrar's office, just thinking about a few things is, like, the students, especially business students, accounting students, that kind of thing. Can we convert not the dining hall, but the part down below, what's it called?
The grill, the Fort
grill
Cecil
there
Ranch, it's all part of the same contract.
A student-run business, where these students can do internships in there and let students run that. And you're talking about like bringing a business in on campus, I mean, a coffee shop might be the easiest thing to do, but I don't know that we can convert the grill to just a coffee shop, but have that run by students versus, we're hiring outside employees, or they are, as far as that goes.
They actually hire students to work there. Now, to what extent, I don't know. Sarah, am I correct?
Yeah.
We have lots of students that work in the grill area. But it's part of the Aladdin contract, the dining hall and the grill area. That's all part of the same food service. So we have to kind of rethink that, renegotiate to come up with a different plan. Question over here?
Yeah, it was related. It's not related to facilities. It was related to conversation from before.
Okay.
But just wanted to get them in before we ended. Professor Crump wanted to talk about, just mention, said we do need to continue providing developmental and supplemental instruction through concurrent labs for writing and math for struggling students, along with bulking up the Student Success Center. Increasing course caps may also lead to less time to get to know students, make connections, and help struggling students. These all factor into retention. So those are just his few comments he had.
Okay. Well, the 5 o'clock hour is upon us. We thank you for your time. I guess the next steps will be announced, James, as we continue through the process. And, please don't, if you have other questions, please share those. Don't keep them to yourself. If you don't do it in public venue like this, but you can definitely send emails or texts or wherever you prefer in your form of communication. Thank you for your time.